It's the best kept secret, most slept on. Keep that dirt off me like I was Teflon. I'm rare money, boss, little do you know I spit thoughts, take part. Hear me as I crash mics and rip hearts. Take notice, confuse me not. I'm not here to snatch those assertive fiends on the block. I'm no killer, but I got fam with certain time for busting shots. Let's learn the hard way to come to the devil's plot. Losing years, but he'll be back stronger. So I'm holding it down just a little bit longer. And when the whole team come back to combine, those who stand against and oppose is wartime. But we can keep it kosher, let the grown men talk. Leave the guns in a holster, let the bullshit walk. But let me know, if you want it, you can get it. But the outcome for all of us is something we gon' regret. Yeah, we're all in the same boat, got similar dreams, just trying to stay afloat, fighting off devils and fiends. Some would love to see it fall, not living our dream. We all combined, we can do incredible things. We all in the same boat, got similar dreams, just trying to stay afloat, fighting off devils and fiends. Some would love to see it fall, not living our dream. We all combined, we can do incredible things.
Formed like Voltron, we back on the scene. Them just got home, equal stacks of the green. Powerhouse squad, DMV dream team. Busting out like a fat person wearing skinny jeans. Popping and ripping strings out the inseam. Check the flavor we bring, it's such an incredible thing. Ground level to the tippy, feeling the vibe, popping in the ride and fucks with me. Strong foundation, no time for wasting, I'm done pacing. The time is now, full throttle, you know my motto. Burn the split, take a step, yeah, that's that pip. High grade, water down rappers is bitch made. Flow tight like barbershop fades. The world ain't ready for this invasion where we raid. Tired of being broke, it's time to get scribbled.
Yo, we all in the same boat, got similar dreams, just trying to stay afloat, fighting off devils and fiends. Some would love to see it fall, not living our dream. We all combined, we can do incredible things. We all in the same boat, got similar dreams, just trying to stay afloat, fighting off devils and fiends. Some would love to see it fall, not living our dream. We all combined, we can do incredible things.
Yo, I'm dynamite, TNT in the bomb. I be running tracks down about 5 miles long. My lungs are strong, danger sound the alarm. I'm back on my routine, it's the same damn song with the new twist added. I'm at it, you can't stand it. Mr. 456 in the mix, the track addict. Call it a hobby or habit, I work the magic. Music, I abuse it and stab it, I cause havoc. This is what I do on the regular when I'm spitting. Whether freestyle or written, you bet that I'm hard hitting. Still on the mission to practice becoming Christian. I am what I eat and I chef straight out the kitchen. Bringing that hell and ring that bell in the shell. With my index fingers press buttons, light up the grill. Yo, let's have a cookout and battle, do what you feel. Better make it sound good, I make time stand still.
Yo, we all in the same boat, got similar dreams, just trying to stay afloat, fighting off devils and fiends. Some would love to see it fall, not living our dream. We all combined, we can do incredible things. We all in the same boat, got similar dreams, just trying to stay afloat, fighting off devils and fiends. Some would love to see it fall, not living our dream. We all combined, we can do incredible things. Yo, we all in the same boat, got similar dreams, just trying to stay afloat, fighting off devils and fiends. Some would love to see it fall, not living our dream. We all combined, we can do incredible things. We all in the same boat, got similar dreams, just trying to stay afloat, fighting off devils and fiends. Some would love to see it fall, not living our dream. We all combined, we can do incredible things.
Hello everyone and welcome to session 3 of the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. My name is Randie Henderson and I am one of the Black Feminist Reading Circle members of this online group. This session runs from January 20th until June 2nd and includes 2 week-long breaks. Our democratically selected reading material is Harriet A. Washington's book, Medical Apartheid, The Dark History of Medical Experimentation on Black Americans from Colonial Times to the Present. Our book group meets each Tuesday evening from 6:30 to 8 on the Google Plus Hangouts on Air platform. You may find the Global Black Feminist Reader Circle on Google Plus, YouTube, and Facebook, and always feel free to join us in reading our story together.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. This is Session 3. I'm your moderator, Joel Jones. We're on Chapter 10, Cage Subjects, Research on Black Prisoners. Like I said, I'm Joel Jones. I am from Charleston, South Carolina, and at this particular time, we would like everyone to go around the circle and everyone to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Edwina. I'm here with my son in Utah, who's in the Army.
Okay. How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
My name is Venita Walker, and I am here from Cromwell, Connecticut. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Randie. I'm watching from Atlanta, and I'm happy to see everyone.
Georgette?
I'm Georgette Moses. I'm participating from Columbia, South Carolina, and I'm happy to see everyone too. We have a big crowd tonight. This is good.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Kim, and I'm in New York, and it's also really good to see everybody.
All right. Miss Michelle?
And my name is Michelle. I am in Brooklyn, New York. And welcome everyone to the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle.
Just like most of the chapters in this book is very difficult, to comprehend how human beings can treat other human beings this way. So in this chapter, Harriet Washington presents information on the inhumane treatment perpetrated on prisoners by medical researchers, doctors, prison and state government officials, and the military under the guise of therapeutic treatment or for the purpose of national security. Those who had lost civil rights now were persuaded to participate in human experiments that would leave them severely disfigured, mentally or physically incapacitated or dead. They existed in the hell of the prison system as pharmaceutical guinea pigs and subject to the whims and sadism and greed, arrogant, racist physicians and their staff. Prisons all across the country were involved from the early 50s. It took scandals, lawsuits, and stringent regulations on human experimentation by U.S. Department of Health, Education, and Welfare in 1978 to purge research from prisons. However, by 1999, Boston University researchers were suing to regain access to over 2 million potential guinea pigs in the prison system around the nation. Do you want to read B, Engineered Invisibility?
I'll read it.
Thank you.
Okay. Washington states that despite the extensive history of using Black bodies as research subjects, the consistently high representation of African Americans in prisons, and their popular use for the most dangerous or distasteful experiments, they were ignored by medical journals and literature until the 1960s. In 1975, the Advisory Committee on Human Radiation Experiments, ACHRE, presented a report suggesting that Blacks were underrepresented in prison medical experimentation. Participating in prison research in the United States was considered a privilege denied to minorities. However, researchers who had a shortage of black subjects complained that their subject population was not more diverse. It was normal for African Americans to be included in such research. Decisions about who participated in particular experiments were left to inmate assistants and possibly reflected the racism in American culture. Prison researchers often hid the racial composition of their research population. News accounts did not refer to black participation either. Question 7. Why should Americans care about what happens to the prison population? And 8. What other populations are at risk for abuse and medical experimentation?
You want to take a stab at it?
Okay, so why should Americans care? Because that's the human thing to do. And, you know, everybody doesn't stay in prison, and they come out sometimes, and I think it costs more money, honestly, as we've seen, to tear people down and keep people down and keep people sick than it does to actually, you know, to actually do therapy and to. I just imagine sometimes what this economy would really look like if the intentions of people's hearts were really sincere. You know, we know that doing the wrong thing makes money and builds a country, but we haven't ever, like as a country, really tried to do the right thing. And I think that honestly, that will make more money, and that will make the morale just higher in general. But you know, that's just me being naive. I think that Americans should care, period, because it's horrible. Reading this book is just a horrible experience. I'm happy that we're reading it because we need to know, but it's not been easy, and I do not look forward to reading these chapters at all. So it's difficult. But question 8: what other populations are at risk for abuse and medical experimentation? I think children who are sick, like autism or Down syndrome. They got a pill for everything. ADHD, they're at risk for this, and they have a lot of SVU, episodes about this type of, the kids who get affected by medicine and who just freak out, or who go on this serial killer spree because their parents, kept them drugged and doped up all the time. I think that the age group when testing on medicine is getting younger and younger. Like when I told you about the HPV experience me and my sister had a few years ago. I was like 15 or 16. So, and they're testing it on these babies and trying to see what's working, and they're getting away with it because these children are already sick, or and supposedly won't really be able to live a life anyway, like a child who doesn't have a disability or isn't diagnosed with autism or ADHD or Down syndrome.
Kim, any other populations that you think may be at risk?
I think any underserved population would be at risk. The elderly, anybody in any sort of institution at all. And I keep reading that Black women are the largest group of
prison
people who are increasing in prison systems. So that kind of means me. It just means that none of us are safe, and it just always reminds me about that poem that said, "When they came for you, I did nothing, and when they came for them, I did nothing, and then they came for me."
There's no one else. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything on this? Georgette, Edwina, or Michelle?
I'm looking at a commercial last night about, I'm not even going to name the hospital because apparently they do humanitarian work in researching children with cancer. You always see the commercial, please donate. And I remember seeing this commercial since I was a kid in the 60s. Donate to this particular hospital in the name of a saint, okay? And I'm not going to name them, But I'm wondering, you know, how many kids survive their chemotherapy? Are these? I mean, they're doing. This is a research hospital, and these children have cancer, and not up until now you start seeing the faces of black children with cancer. And at the end of the commercial, I heard one little boy said, I just want to go home. And you see these kids with the bald heads, okay, because they've gone through chemotherapy, you feel me? And they're saying how well they're doing and recuperating. But you also see how sickly some of the kids, they show you the picture of how sickly these children are. And I ask myself, are these children being used for some sort of experimentation for chemotherapy in the cure in curing cancer? Because this institution has been around for a long time. And I question myself, and back to the question, why should Americans care about what happens to the prison population? I care because there's a lot of disproportionately high rate of black males and females incarcerated in prisons now unjustifiably for petty crimes, and they're giving harsh sentences. And the system, the judicial system is unfair, and it needs to be revamped. And I understand that some prisons now they're trying to, under the Obama administration, release some of these prisons for just nonviolent crimes. So yeah, I think that yes, I am concerned because there's a lot of innocent people in prison.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Georgette, Kim, anyone of y'all want to say anything?
I just want to say, you know, I think we're all really at risk on. It reminded me of a story when I was trying to figure out what was wrong with me. It was actually the carbon monoxide, but before I knew that, this doctor, the first doctor I went to, told me this story about how people my age had gotten all this education and we had all these high expectations and life really hadn't worked out the way we wanted it to, and now we needed drugs to get through the day. And he gave me something called Boost Bar. Oh. It had me high as a kite. But I knew it was not getting at my symptoms. It was worsening them. But, you know, as Venita said, you've got all these people on drugs, you know, just because they don't know how to manage their children. And you know, I think it's just like that. It always bothers me when I go to a traditional doctor that there seems to be no effort at all to get to the root of the problem, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
They just immediately go into prescribing something with no plan to ever get off of it. And you know, I just think it's how business is done now. And that any of us, no matter what we complain of, you know, there's a drug for that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. You know, and like with the birth control pills, they were prescribing those without, we were the test population. You know, we were not a confined population. We were not institutionalized. We were, you know, everyday people on the street. Yet we were being given this really experimental drug.
Yeah.
It's the best kept secret, most slept on. Keep keep that dirt off me like I was Teflon. I'm rare money, boss, little do you know I spit thoughts, take part. Join me as I grasp my rip hearts. Take notice, confuse me not. I'm not here to snatch souls and serve the fiends on the block. I'm no killer, but I got fam with certain time for busting shots. Let's learn the hard way to come to the devil's plot. Losing years, but he'll be back stronger. So I'm holding it down just a little bit longer. And when the whole team come back to combine, those who stand against and oppose is wartime. But we can keep it kosher. Let the grown men talk. Put the guns in a holster. Let the bullshit walk. But let me know if you want it, you can get it. But the outcome for all of us is something we don't regret. Kids, we all in the same boat, got similar dreams, just trying to stay afloat, fighting off devils and fiends. Some would love to see it fail, not living our dreams. We all combined, we can do incredible things. We all in the same boat, got similar dreams, just trying to stay afloat, fighting off devils and fiends.